Well, the legal fight for a $1 billion gold mine in New South Wales is underway. But earlier this year, Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek blocked the development of the gold mine near Orange because it would apparently cause irreversible and permanent loss to Aboriginal heritage, by which I mean, of course, the blue-branded bee dreaming story. Now, the mine owners had consulted with numerous local Aboriginal communities, none of which opposed the mine, and even the Orange Local Aboriginal Land Council, as well as the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council, were happy for the mine to go ahead. But it was blocked on the word of just a single Wiradjuri elder who claimed the area was, as I said, connected to a previously unheard dreaming story of a blue-banded bee. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns was spot on when he had this to say at the time about the decision.
I've said, Mr Chair, I'm disappointed by the decision from the Commonwealth Government. The application was made in 2019. It's gone through the Independent Planning and Assessment Commission, as well as every other government department in New South Wales. And to be knocked over at the 11th hour is disappointing in terms of mining gold and other critical minerals in New South Wales, which we desperately need because coal mining is under pressure, particularly when it comes to export markets.
So now a new investigation by the Daily Telegraph has revealed some really interesting figures about these Indigenous heritage protection claims. It's found these claims have heavily targeted mining companies compared to renewable projects. Joining me now is Shadow Environment Minister Jonathan Duniam. Jono, since 2012, New South Wales has had 30 mining and pipeline projects targeted by Indigenous cultural conservation claims. But guess how many renewable projects were targeted? Just 2. Coincidence, or is something going on here?
Yeah, I smell a rat, James, can I tell you? And in the good old days, green activists used to just chain themselves to bulldozers and dangerous equipment, or in forestry coups and mining sites, you name it. But they've moved from frontline activity like that to the courtroom. And all they do now is exploit loopholes or gaps in the law to try and bring the end to proposed projects like the McPhillamys gold mine. And so it's the same people who've been doing the same thing for 30, 40, 50 years in some cases, professional protesters who oppose projects no matter how good they might be. And in the case of the McPhillamys gold mine, 800 jobs, $1 billion of economic activity, much needed resources in the way of critical minerals, gold, for example, all on the back of some dreaming story, intangible cultural heritage on a tiny patch of land in central west New South Wales. It is rather telling that so many mining and resources projects have been targeted, but nothing really in the way of renewables projects. It does point to it being an ideological pursuit rather than one based on fact or actual cultural heritage.
Yeah, so I mean, if we just take, the government's transmission line project in New South Wales, 365 kilometres of transmission lines passing through farms and communities, and yet somehow not a single Aboriginal heritage claim seeking to stop it. All of those transmission lines, not a single claim. How does that happen?
Yeah, it is rather passing strange, isn't it, James? You have this tiny patch of land, and as Chris Minns and other Labor ministers have said themselves, after exhaustive state and federal processes, a tiny patch of land they managed to turn up intangible, that is, not able to be touched, Aboriginal cultural heritage, which prevented this mining project from going ahead. And I have to say, without being disrespectful, I am rather sceptical about that. But yes, you can cut great swathes through farmland, forests, public and Crown reserves to pave the way for transmissions lines for these renewables projects, or indeed decapitate mountains in order to install wind turbines, and you won't find a skerrick in the hundreds of, if not thousands of hectares of lands impacted of cultural heritage. As I say, there is an agenda here, and it is people who have been opposed to these projects from the beginning who've just found a new way of stymieing projects and achieving their end and progressing their agenda, which is something that comes at great cost to the mums and dads who can't pay their power bills, are struggling to pay their mortgages and want jobs for their kids. But it's this crowd who are stopping all of that.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, I think, to most thinking people exactly what's happening. Thanks for outlining it for us, Jonathan Dunningham. Appreciate your time.